Now, you've always talked about like the colonized mold from the environment kind of working its way into the gut. I know you use a lot of oat testing, which I do as well from Great Plain Labs to assess that higher level of aspergillus or fusobacterium, and is it colonizing? Speak a little bit more about how that outside environment gets in the gut and then how it grows. And then can we do gut protocols to knock that down, or do we have to address the out? Like, how do you address it holistically if it's outside coming in and impacting the gut?
Yeah. So the the two options that can happen for mold toxicity
Yeah,
is you can become like a mycotoxin reservoir where you're simply just storing the mold toxin that you've breathed in. So you're living,
that's good.
working, sleeping in a water damaged building, you breathe in these mold farts, those are
Yep.
mycotoxins, they get
Yep.
stored in you. But when you do your oat test, page 1, you don't see any overgrowth there. Numbers 1 through 9 is the fungal category. If that all looks normal, but we see mycotoxins in the urine, we'll say, okay, you just have mold toxicity, but you're not colonized. But most of the time, it's both, especially in a
You're not
chronically ill.
storing it in your gut, it's just from the outside coming in, you're not storing it.
Well, it could
Or
be,
it's not colonized
yeah, it could be stored, but it may not be actively growing.
in
Whereas,
your gut.
yeah, whereas when you see the active growth, that would be like furan carbonyl glycine. There's like 3 or 4
Yep,
different ones that'll
yep,
say aspergillus or fusarium. And
yep.
truthfully, I think this testing still has a long way to go. I think we're going to find the ability to test way more molds because right now all we can see is aspergillus, which is common, but there's tons of other molds that I think people could be battling, and we're not actually testing for them. So testing's not perfect, I will admit, but if we do see the growth, then we'll say, hey, you're actually a mold factory, more accurately, a mycotoxin factory. You're now generating mycotoxins from this active growth, meaning you move out of that moldy house. Well, you could take the mold with you. And so that's where using, to answer your question, that's where using the rescue, the nasal spray is great. But
Yep.
then the same gut protocol will fix that because, as you know, a lot of the herbs we use for bacteria are also antifungal as well. A lot of blends that you and I formulated, we have antifungals built into those. So really, it doesn't change protocol too much. We're probably hitting
Right.
several things at once. We may be killing mold and killing candida and killing bacteria all in one fell swoop. And if you look into the literature on this, you can get something called an aspergilloma, where you can literally have like a ball of mold growing in the lungs. Now,
Mm,
I don't know if that's like nebulized antifungals or what. That's a little out of my
right.
wheelhouse. I don't know much about
Yeah,
lung growth of mold, but we can say for sure that where we're putting in oral antifungals, oral antimicrobials, we look at the oat and guess what? The retest looks beautiful. So we know it's working. And then we match it to their symptoms and they say, hey, look, I don't have sinus anymore. I don't have histamine anymore. I don't have insomnia or depression anymore. It's all cleared up. So I think what we're doing is working great.
absolutely. And also there's, Marcons as well, like methicillin resistant kind of staph coagulase in the nose. And that's where I'll add a drop or two of betadine iodine because that's shown to be very helpful against methicillin resistant bugs in the nose. And it's also a biofilm buster as well. And then I'm not sure, I think you do it as well, but we add biofilms to a lot of our protocols, whether it's the ginger tea, whether it's silver, whether it's NAC. And NAC is great because it can help with glutathione and help with detoxification while it helps with the gut, while it also helps improve lung health and breaks up mucus. And then also like systemic enzymes, whether it's pancreatic enzymes or serpeptidase or lumbrokinase or yeah, those are probably the good ones out of the gate.